I want to tell you a story. It's one of the things I remember from grad school. One day, the president of the graduate school was giving a speech in an auditorium, and we were all invited to go. So I went, and he at one point said, "You might not remember much of what I've said today, but I hope you remember the following." And he went into then describe how the economy has normal cycles of contraction and expansion. And he said that recessions and economic downturns are a normal part of the economic cycle, and they are inevitable. And the stock market and the economy always recovers. So in this video and in this series, I thought I would give you my thoughts on what happens in a recession, how to prepare for a recession, and things that will help you hopefully come out of the recession actually being better than you were before the recession started. So I have to say that none of this is financial advice. You should consult with a financial advisor before you do anything with money or your finances or any big life decision like that. So I'm not a qualified financial advisor, but I'm just wanted to give you my thoughts because I was raised by Depression-era parents. That means that they were brought up during the Great Depression of the 1930s, and it couldn't help but be passed on to me and the rest of my family about how devastating that was for a lot of people and how they survived it. So I have a lot of these skills. Plus, I've lived through a number of recessions in my lifetime at this point, and believe me, I have made mistakes that I don't want you to make. So, in this first video, this video is called Recession Preparedness. Now, at the time of this, right now, there is not a recession, but there's a lot of talk and a lot of buzz around about possibly the economic situation turning into a recession. So I thought it'd be a good time for you to get prepared and for me to get prepared. So that's the first nature of this video. It's recession preparedness. You need to be of the mind that even though everything is going along great right now, a recession is inevitably going to happen. I was watching the news the other day, and the question to the commentator, to the expert was, do you think we will go into a recession? And before that person answered, my answer was yes. Eventually, inevitably, we will be in a recession, and you just need to prepare for it because you don't want to get blindsided and you don't want to come out of a recession worse off than you were when it started. So be mindful that it is going to happen. It may happen these days, soon, in the coming months, coming years. So now's a good time to get thinking about it and get your mind on what you should do for your contingency plan, for your emergency plan. Okay, the first thing you can do is assess your current state. Take a look at your finances, take a look at your life, take a look at your job, take a look at where your money's going in and out. Sit down without the computer on, without the TV on, without any distractions, and really make a list of an inventory and an assessment of the things that are in your life right now that are economic and financial. Right? What kind of money's coming in and out? And that's going to lead to a budget. If you're not keeping a budget, you should really think about doing that because it helps you see in a better way where the money's coming in and where the money's going out and where you're saving. So that's critical to do as part of your assessment about where you are. And the assessment should really include things like, do I like my job? Am I thinking about changing my job? Is my car okay? Is my car old? Am I thinking about buying a new car? Am I thinking about buying a house or another major purchase like a boat or taking a vacation or planning a wedding? You really need to think about what's happening and the financial impact of the things that are coming down the line and the financial impact of the things that are just sort of happening day to day for you right now. So that's an inventory or a financial assessment. It won't kill you to do this. You're going to learn a lot. You'll be surprised. Anyone who's ever done one of these is surprised about where the money's going, how much you're paying in taxes and things like that. So it's important to know, and you really, really want to have a baseline of where you are right now before any recession starts. Okay, I've written these down, by the way, so you'll see me looking down, but this is so important. I want to get this right for you and hopefully help you have some ideas about what to do before this starts. Okay. So I've already kind of mentioned that you want to weigh the risk of doing something now that might have a negative impact if a recession starts. So that's like taking out some kind of loan, or making a major life decision that involves a lot of money. Like, you don't want to sort of buy a boat that you've always wanted for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then all of a sudden there's a recession and you default on those payments, or that fancy watch that you've always wanted, or maybe your car is fine but you want a luxury car. Now might not be the time to do that, because if you get in a situation where you're carrying a lot of debt during a recession, and let's say you get laid off, you're going to be in trouble, and I don't want you to default on those loans, and you don't want to default on them either. So think about, yes, I'm interested in doing something that I don't necessarily need financially, but can you survive that during an economic downturn? So that's really something you need to think about. Those big vacations, planning a wedding, buying a house, buying a luxury item, things like that. So you really want to be careful. The next piece of this that you really need to think about, whether there's a recession on or not, is you should always have your resume ready. And you should always be prepared to get laid off. In the corporate career world, and over the course of your working years, it's inevitable that you probably will get laid off. And let's say there's a recession. That means customers are buying less and companies are selling less. And that means profits are going down and revenue is going down for those companies, the companies you work for. So they're going to have to cut costs somehow so that they can survive and stay in business. That means they're going to have to lay people off in an economic downturn. That could happen to you, and you need to really, really be prepared for that if it does happen. So how do you prepare for that? You want to have your resume up to date. If you're lucky enough to collect unemployment benefits in some countries like the US, you can do that. You really want to look into what that means. It's not like you're going to get your full paycheck. And plus, your employer has to enable that for you. So it's not a guarantee that you're going to be able to collect unemployment. You need to prepare for not collecting it as well. But let's say you get laid off and you're able to collect unemployment benefits. That's great. But you don't want to be of the mindset, well, hey, I'm just going to collect unemployment and glide through here for the next couple of months, because a couple of months is going to turn into a year or 2 years. And the meanwhile, the recession is happening and you're just sort of stagnant. So you don't want to be that way, but you want to prepare to get laid off. You want to have 2 emergency funds. Again, not financial advice, but this is what I do. You have an immediate emergency fund, which is cash on hand, like $1,000 or the equivalent of $1,000, or maybe $500 or something like that. If you get a flat tire, if you have an emergency, the hot water heater goes, you break a front tooth, some kind of unforeseen upfront emergency where you need cash right away. So that's a small pocket of money that you can access right away, so you don't have to walk around without a tooth in the front of your head, which is embarrassing and not the look you're going for. And secondly, you need to have your larger savings plan in place, your emergency fund. That's like 6 months out. So if you're collecting unemployment and you still have costs that are not covered by those, you need that emergency plan, that emergency fund in place. So clear your debt. I know you hear it, all these things that you hear about, but if the dark clouds of recession are coming upon us, you need to really get ready, because you don't want to be outside in the rain exposed to financial devastation, right? So look at your debt, really work hard to clear that and get rid of it. Try to have a zero debt balance if possible. Okay, there's good debt and bad debt, you can look into that, but get rid of as much debt as possible, because you don't want to be carrying debt during a recession or ever, really. Okay, so again, consult your financial advisor for that. And then you'll need to have your savings plan in place in case you get laid off. And then you need to prepare for being out of work for an extended period of time. So these are things that you need to consider. Again, remember that a recession is part of the normal expansion and contraction of the economic living thing that is the economy, right? These things happen. We have boom times and bust times. You have bear market and bull market. You have economic expansion and contraction. These are all normal things. And just like the weather, when it's snowing out during a blizzard, you don't want to get caught outside with your summer clothes on. You're going to change your strategy according to what the economy is doing, and you're going to live a slightly different life. Now, hopefully, you can prepare for it ahead of time and get as many things lined up as possible. So you don't have to go into extreme, like building a bunker in your backyard or, hoarding food down into the basement. You don't have to do that. It's just like be of the mind that this is coming. Take a look at where you are currently. Take a look at your financial life right now and make some adjustments that would make things easier for you if a recession should hit. Okay, remember that recessions happen, but you can look back over history and realize that they don't last forever. The good news is that they do end. It's really your goal, and the goal of this first video in this series is twofold. Be prepared, and then have a goal of, if possible, emerging from a recession actually better off than you were when it started, based on the things that you do while that recession is happening. So don't let the recession be a setback to you and your plans. Just deal with it as an inconvenience if possible. And then, once the economy starts up again, you'll be ready to get back in there, and you could be the first person hired. You won't be swamped with debt or having to be, heaven forbid, homeless or something like that. These are the things that you want to avoid, because as everything is going down, you don't want to get swept away or swept out with the tide, so to speak. So you want to be of the mind that this could happen. It probably will happen. Where am I now financially and economically? What's the worst possible scenario for me? I have no car, I have no house, I can't pay the rent, I can't pay the mortgage, I lose my job. Really, you need to kind of think in those terms to be prepared for surviving a recession and actually coming out of it better than you were going into it. So that's the first in this series here. Be prepared and have a goal of getting through it. And the other piece of this is not economic and it's not financial. It's really psychological. So if you're married, or you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, or you're in a relationship, or you're part of a big family, everyone is suffering in a recession, a little bit or a lot, and you need to be mindful of that. And you need to realize, okay, well, we're not really working as much as we were, but that's not the time to lay down and feel sorry for yourself. You have to keep up and think about what's coming over the horizon. Pick up some new skills. Remember to exercise. Remember to be kind to the people around you, because they're going through this as well. Things might get boring or redundant, but that's not your fault necessarily, and it's not their fault. So don't add to the crisis of a recession by, being in a psychological state where you're bringing everybody else down. It's bad enough as it is, but part of surviving a economic downturn is keeping your mental state above the waterline, so to speak, so that you can get through it. And it's a great time to read, great time to learn how to play an instrument, great time to get out and exercise. Do the things that, a full-time job wouldn't allow you to do, and think about where you'd like to be when the recession ends. And remember to embrace the people who are around you and love them, they have nothing to do with the economic downturn. So you want them to be there for you when this is all over and looking at you and saying, well, that was interesting and tough, but we got through it together, and you'll have your job, you'll have your money, and you'll have your people. Losing someone in a relationship is far worse than losing any of the material stuff. So, okay, that is part 1 of the 3-part series on recession that I'm doing. These will be spread out over the next coming weeks, so you can keep an eye out for them. It's time for me to thank my 188 subscribers. Thank you all for subscribing. Thank you all for liking. The statistics show and the analytics show in Google that a lot of people are watching the video but not subscribing. Hey, come on, click that subscribe button. It'll help me, and I can bring you more videos. And the goal of this whole YouTube channel is to help you with your career and with your life, because I've got over 40 years of experience, and I want to share that with you and help you, and I don't want you to make the mistakes that I've made. Thank you for clicking the like button. Thank you for subscribing. Be good to one another. Keep an eye out for the next video. The next video is going to be called, hold on, the money part. Off I go.